My friend Jake slept over at my house one night when we were 12, and because of that, he might have possibly saved my life. It was a snowy weekend night, and we were watching a couple of Christmas movies in my living room. My mum would bring us snacks and hot cocoa. She was always really nice to my friends when I had them over. But my mum had to go to bed kind of early because she worked. She and my dad had just recently been divorced. Around 12, Jake and I went to my room where we started playing video games. I don't remember much after that, besides falling asleep a little while later. I woke up in my bed, feeling extremely cold and also really thirsty. I went to the kitchen downstairs to get a cup of water. I noticed how much colder it had become upstairs as opposed to downstairs. I went back to my bed and tucked myself in. As I lay there, trying to fall back into sleep, I realized Jake was breathing really weird, like a deep, heavy breathing. It went on for some time, and after making a note of it in my head, it was all I could focus on. So eventually, I threw a pillow at him, and as he woke up, I told him to stop breathing so loudly. He was confused as he looked up at me. He said, "What are you talking about?" I told him to just lower the volume of his breathing noise. He was borderline snoring. Jake shifted his focus from me to down below my bed, and then he screamed and sat up, crawling backward. I yelled, "What is it?" I hopped off my bed and looked under it, and there was a middle-aged man with long hair laying underneath my bed, and he had his finger up to his lips, going, "Shh." It was a surreal sight, to say the least. I felt like my heart was beating 200 beats per minute. The man whispered, "I know your mum. I'm here to see her." He started crawling out from under the bed at the same time. Jake and I ran from the room, screaming for my mum. We got to my mum's room and locked the bedroom door behind us. She was immediately distressed and confused by our screaming. I barely had enough time to yell, "There's a man under my bed," before the doorknob to my mum's room started twisting and shaking. Then suddenly the sounds of the doorknob trying to turn stopped, to be replaced by heavy, aggressive bangs at the door. My mum ran to her phone and called 911. On the phone, she was already in tears, while also screaming at the man on the other side of the door to leave us alone. He tried kicking the door in, but I think when he heard my mum on the phone, he left the house. We were all in shock. It took the police only a couple of minutes to arrive, by which time the coast was clear. The biggest window in our house, which was the window to the upstairs spare bedroom, had been lifted up completely, which explained the cool air entering the house upstairs. I had also explained the man's point of entry. I told my mum that the man claimed he knew her, but she had no idea who this man could have been. My mum dropped Jake off, and then we went to sleep in my aunt's place for the rest of the night. The next day, my uncle installed a stronger lock on the upstairs window. This was like 16 years ago now. At this point, I'll just call it a distant, haunting memory. But we never figured out who that man could have been, or how he could have possibly known my mother.